Hi, and welcome to the demo for Two Falls. So this game revolves basically around two characters, two separate characters. Actually, you know what? I should probably set the scene first. You are in the 17th century. You, an European, you're sort of seeking out this new life. So you hop on a boat and you sail to what you presume to be the Americas. That's the scene. That is the scene. You are in the midst of an era of colonization after the age of exploration. So that's the current era. One of the characters that we are going to look at, that the story is going to look at, that story is going to focus on, is called Jeanne. Jeanne is obviously from France, and she actually sails to Nouvelle France. Nouvelle France is, of course, how the French actually called their colony in the Americas in Canada. Nouvelle France is a translation for New France. Okay, so yeah. Also, do note that I learned a lot of this back in high school, and I forgot about a lot of it as I grew up. Which, I mean, you can't fault me for it because obviously as a child you really don't really know a lot of this stuff. So yeah. Um, the second character that we play as is I'm gonna butcher a lot of these names. I'm really sorry. Is Maikon. Uh, Maikon. I'm really sorry. But he is part of the Innu tribe. I believe he's the great grandson of actually a healer of the Innu tribe. So how generally the First Nations is how Canada actually calls their indigenous tribes. So First Nations is the umbrella term for it because it's like, oh, indigenous tribes feels really like degrading and all that stuff. First Nations sort of puts them more on a pedestal, sort of puts them like, elevates their status as like, okay, they're the first people here and they deserve to be remembered as such. Despite that, Canada still has a lot of discrimination for them, right? I know a lot of companies are like, yeah, we gotta remember the First Nations. And it's all talk. They don't really donate any money to them, and they just sort of leave the First Nations to sort of suffer on the side. And that's something that not only Canada is guilty of, but also a whole bunch of countries are guilty of as well. I believe the U.S. is also guilty of that. The Australia is also guilty of that. So we can put them on a pedestal as much as we want, but at the end of the day, right, our actions speak louder than our words. And unfortunately, the First Nations are, well, they're not necessarily being helped by the government as we've come to discover, right? But anyway, that's besides the point. So how the First Nations actually work is that there's actually several different families. Two of which, from what I remember, is obviously the or three of them is obviously the Inuits. And then there's also the Algonquiens, and there's also the Iroquois. So I'm saying all these in French because I learned all this in French, right? So these three big families have different tribes within them, and these different tribes can also fight with each other, right? They can ally with each other. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, again, I probably should have done my research on this, but it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that for one demo. So yeah. But what's really cool about this game is that, to my knowledge, most if not all of the devs in this game, or most if not all of the people who worked on this game, are actually part of the First Nations, which is such a cool little thing. So yeah, anyways, I've rambled enough. You guys probably don't need enough historical context and all that. So without further ado, let's get into Two Falls and let's play the demo for it. Yeah. I always sort of wanted to learn the First Nation language, but it's something that's really been sort of fading. And yeah. Look at that. September 29th, 1665. Somewhere in the East Canadian wilderness, Jeanne Angelier and her dog Capitaine are the sole survivors of a traumatic shipwreck that left dozens dead. Now 10 days later, she travels west toward the French colonies alongside Pierre, a fur trader. Pierre warned the journey would be long. The new world is a harsh place. Jean, Obviously, Jean comes from Joan of Arc, so Jeanne d'Arc. So that's where it actually came from, the name. Jean will soon find out what he meant. Also, I hope that this does not lag. Please.
Anyway, enough dawdling. We ain't done the day yet. I'll hack us some firewood. You get us birch branches for kindling. Should be some over there.
Ah, ben c'est pas en français, ça. Tu veux que j'y vais toute seule? Sorry. I don't know what birch is in French. You know what? Why birch specifically?
Why birch specifically?
Oh, everything's voiced.
'Cause the bark burns better than paper. Native guy taught me that. I'm pretty sure I saw some growing here last time I came through.
Pretty sure?
Just get the damn birch, Shan. Sooner you're done, sooner we eat.
Fine.
Now, what also that a lot of history books don't tell you is that the natives or the First Nations or the indigenous people have actually helped the people that first actually landed in on their territories, right? So one example that I keep talking about is scurvy, right? So when the colonizers actually first arrived in the Americas, right? When they first arrived, they suffered from scurvy because months of being on ships, right? They don't really have access to nutrition. There's a great channel called Townsend's. They describe like very, very like 18th century, 17th century, like cooking, all that stuff. You'll realize they don't have nutrition for crap. They just ate whatever, like they ate like preserved meats or like they ate like sea biscuits, right? Which is just like there. So they just needed a way to survive, right? They didn't care about nutrition. So when they arrived to the Americas, they didn't have any nutrition. So obviously they had scurvy. And one of the ways that they help compensate for the lack of vitamin C was actually with a tea, with I believe a pine tea, from what I remember. So yes, there is, yes, the First Nations did help the colonizers quite a bit. I say colonizers because there's the English, there's the French, and all that stuff, right? So it's easier to say that than to do that. I don't necessarily mean that in like a negative manner, despite that, right? Hi, Crouch. Help. Jean, qu'est-ce que tu fais? Ah, mon Dieu. Ben, qu'est-ce que je fais là? Oh, okay. Oh, I click. Ben, c'est pas... okay, sorry. Can I... Oh, okay, there's FPS enter. Cool. Okay, that's fine, I hope it's not too laggy on your end. Okay, it should be fine actually. Can I sprint? Yeah, can.
Can't believe the way Pierre treats me sometimes.
Ah, je peux pas croire comment Pierre me traite des fois. I'm literally translating word for word. Like I'm not even like Quebecoising it. There we go. God, I can't even English. Why can't I French either? What language am I good at? Apparently not any language, apparently. Hold up, I'll adjust the volume first. Because I do want you guys to hear the voice acting. Why not listen to the phenomenal voice acting? Why listen to my crappy voice acting when you could hear professionals? Hey capitaine, dépêche un peu là. On n'a pas toute la journée. Pardon. Ben, qu'est-ce que je veux que je fasse là? capitaine. Oh, t'es tellement cute, là. Ok, that's definitely anglicisme. Hey, c'est quoi ça? Oh, I'm having way too much fun speaking French. Ah, tabarouette. Oh, comme ça? Ben, c'est quoi ça? What? Oh, ok, là. Ah ouais, Birch's boulot. J'ai oublié. Ah merde. Ça fait trop longtemps que j'ai... Ça a l'air comme des yeux, là. Hey, yo. Why am I speaking
You
like
should
that?
do the trick.
There's just conveniently birch sticks here. Thanks. Hey, tabarnak, tais-toi.
Almost!
Presque. Ferme la gueule. Oh.
Come on, boy. Let's head back before he...
Oh.
I'm fine! I just... I'll have to look for another way back.
Ben là. Fais du parkour là ou quelque chose. I'm having way too much fun with this.
It's so cold all of a sudden.
Il fait froid
Wait up!
tout à coup. Why am I translating this randomly? It's not even like a good translation. Like it's not. People don't speak like how I'm speaking right now. Hey, je suis perdu. Hey, capitaine, tu m'as abandonné. Pourquoi? Ce chien-là. Capitaine.
Boy?
Garçon.
Frozen solid. How is that even possible?
Shit, moi. Since she's speaking in English, I was like, yeah, let me just parler en français.
Capitaine! Can you hear me?
Capitaine, oh. Is she Québécois? Je pense qu'elle est Québécois. Or maybe all the voice actors are First Nations as well, which wouldn't surprise me. Capitaine?
What in the world?
Où es-tu? This is the most amount of French I've spoken in a while, honestly. I know, I'm disappointment too. Oh my god, there's a bug
Oh
in
god.
there. Oh mon dieu.
Capitaine! Is that you?
Capitaine, est-ce que c'est toi?
Pierre! Pierre!
Ah merde.
Christ, there you are. The hell happened out there?
J'ai-tu moi?
I don't know. All of a sudden there was this mist and...
Shit, did it follow me?
Follow?
Quoi?
What do you mean?
Qu'est-ce que t'as?
You need to run. Fast, as far as you can. Hide somewhere and wait. I'll
Hey
find
Pierre,
But
qu'est-ce
what
que t'as
about-
fait?
There's no time. Either jump or I push you. Now, woman!
I think a Wendigo might have found him. Ok, je dépêche là. Aïe. Pas besoin de...
Hey! Wait for me!
Okay.
Capitaine!
Yeah, I'm following Capitaine. T'inquiète.
Lord, I beg of you. You can't let me die. Oh no!
Oh, that's got hurt. Two days earlier, 35 kilometers away. Tutuskak, homeland of the Innu people, has been scarred by the arrival of European outsiders. Its once familiar forests are now devoid of prey and haunted by a natural chill. Maikon, a young hunter-gatherer, is sent by his great-grandfather to investigate the cause. Following the outsiders' tracks, he uncovers a truth worse than he ever imagined.
A good friend once told me, never let fear or hate prevent understanding. But that day, I didn't want to understand.
The spirits are mad. So generally,
I wanted to wake up from a nightmare they created.
one of the religions, I believe the sort of I'll say, I'll just call it religion because I don't know what other word. The other belief, the belief that the First Nations actually have is called animism, which I don't know how to say that in English because again I learned this all in French. So it's this idea that everything has spirits in them, right? Inherently, you have to treat everything with respect because obviously everything is inhabited with spirits. So there's this balance that you have to give and you have to take from nature, right? You can't always take from things, or else eventually they'll want to reclaim that balance. They'll take everything back from you. So there is inherent respect to the way that the First Nations handle nature as well, right? So it is in some way similar to the what's a good I don't know, but there is a balance to how they handle things, and there is a respect to how they inherently treat animals after they kill them and all of that stuff, right? So yeah, so that is something that I want to take note of because in what they say at the beginning of this section is that, you know, the European outsiders, like, they ravaged like the resources and all that stuff, right? Which ties back to, if you take too much stuff, eventually nature will want to reclaim what you took without
Oh, that stench. Rotting meat?
Yeah. Interesting.
No!
Est-ce que c'est mon chien?
I'd seen death before, but this was something else.
Est-ce que c'est un chien?
Something worse.
Labrador wolf. Great-grandfather once told me that the wolves in Totoskak are unlike those from the west. They hunt in larger packs, are hardier than other breeds, are better suited to the cold, rugged terrain of our homeland. Though we do not hunt them, they remain a sacred part of our home, and their lives deserve the same respect as any Innu person's. That, he says, is why my parents named me after them, so that I may share their resilience, their sense of community, and never forget how important my homeland is to me. The moment I saw the white wolf's butcher remains, I couldn't help but worry that part of myself died alongside it. So another thing that I believe the Steam page actually mentions is that Maikon actually was actually born after the European settlers first arrived. So Maikon does not know of a life without them, right? Before they started messing around with the resources and all that stuff, right? So that's something that I want to note as well. So there's no point of comparison in before and after. That's why I want to point out. Historical facts, from the she-wolf who nursed the Roman twins Remus and Romulus, to the Cree tale which describes the battle between negative and positive emotions as two wolves fighting within us. These large carnivorous canines have countless myths associated to them, and just as many subspecies found across the globe. The Labrador wolf in particular is a genus native to the Tadoussac region. Considerably larger than most North American breeds, their grizzled furs range in colors from dark gray. Also, why'd you guys spell dark gray in the American fashion? I do have to wonder about that, because Gray usually, if it spells with an A, is how the US spells it. Gray with an E is usually how the UK and all that spells it, and by extent Canada as well. But I guess it doesn't really matter. You know what? You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm ranting about that. Just stark white, helping them blend in with their rocky, wintry environments. Much like the Innu themselves, they mainly subsist on caribou, which they hunt in large groups, isolating targets before circling them, biting at their hindquarters until they're too hurt to flee or fight. Nowadays, the species is listed as endangered, both due to urbanization and dwindling caribou populations. There we go. That's really cool that they're giving us context. Like, this is really cool. And also, the art, so nice. So simple, but so cool.
I could taste his agony amid the stench, see it in his eyes.
I can't even see his eyes.
His spirit was crying out in pain, begging to be freed from that decaying prison.
Interesting.
His snow-white fur had been hacked off, not skinned. His remains were gaunt, like he'd been starving. Yet the white man hadn't eaten a single scrap of him.
That's
It
another.
felt as if his killers wanted to hurt him, even in death.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I want to point out is that when the First Nations actually killed an animal, they used every single part of it. They didn't just like kill it for its fur specifically or for its meat. They used every single part of it, and that's sort of their way of, again, paying respects to the spirits within animals and all that stuff, right? And again, that's how they strike a balance, is that they treat everything with reverence, they treat everything with respect, right? Yeah, that's another thing I want to highlight about animism and all that stuff. I'm sorry, you deserve better. I need to do something. My kind grows more
Forgive me, Wolf.
contemplative.
I wish I could give you the peace they failed to.
Honoring animals. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. This probably explains it a lot better than I can. One thing white man can't seem to understand is that this land does not belong to anyone. We belong to what? We belong to blah, 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 blah. We belong to it. The reason Innu live in harmony with nature, and the reason nature continues to offer us so many resources, is because we treasure every part of it. There we go. I was right. That's cool. I actually know my stuff, kind of. I hope so. Treating every living thing within it, treating every living thing within it with the most utmost. What the frick? I can't English. Treating every living thing within with the utmost respect. There we go. That way, there will always continue to be resources worth treasuring in the future, be they plants or animals. This is why the poacher's actions were so heartless. Hacking apart an animal only to leave the corpse lying there, teeming with maggots, is the same as defiling the remains of his own family or the future of his children. And something tells me he'd stoop to that if it meant sating his own greed. Jesus, I can't English. I'm really sorry. God, I love the art. So sick. Okay. Oh boy.
The white man's camp.
Okay. Shall we start destroying?
He's dead.
Interesting.
Huh. He froze to death, but it wasn't slow or gradual. More like he was mauled by cold.
Interesting. He suffered enough. Give him peace. No, this is what he deserves. What to do? In the spirit of paying respects to everything.
I'm sorry. You don't deserve this any more than the wolf does.
Realistically, I
A
probably
hunter
should have been
told
like,
me
screw you.
White men do this to help the dead rest. I hope it makes your journey easier. That's odd. His moccasins are gone. Stripped bare and left behind, just like the wolf. Someone else was here, and he robbed this man. Why?
Whereby is moccasin?
What kind of mantush defiles his brother instead of burying him?
Fire, there's still coals, which means that this is pretty recent.
Still a few embers. Fire's been out for a day, at most.
Okay.
The other man left a lot of supplies behind.
He left in a
Probably
hurry.
because he had
Yep.
to.
Yep, there's rope and all that stuff. Interesting.
No, it's too dangerous. I can't go wandering off until I figure out what happened here.
Okay. I guess I missed some stuff. Oh, here.
A tanning rack. Must have been used for the wolf's fur,
Except...
but it's gone now. Likely taken by the other man. He looted the camp, left his friend's body laying here, and ran off with the white wolf's hide. Now then, where did he go?
Wouldn't it be possible to have a third party, though? Why is he assuming that the companion did that? Wouldn't it be possible that someone else came by?
Prints are deep, spaced far apart. He ran.
There's that tracking. Love a good tracking scene. He dropped something and he didn't pick it back up, which means he was in a hurry and he was being chased. He didn't have time. He didn't have the luxury to pick it up.
Left behind some belongings, but no sign of the white belt. Still, for him to just drop all this?
He was injured.
Fresh blood. Froze before he could dry. It's just like what killed the dead man. Great-grandfather was right. Our elders once spoke of a winter spirit who lashes out when nature is defiled. Should its anger go unappeased, frigid weather would follow, causing countless deaths. I had to find the one who did this, retrieve the white fur he had stolen, lay the dishonored wolf to rest, and fast. Or else, the coming winter would be my people's last.
Thanks for playing the demo. Yeah, for sure. Thank you all for making the game. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So when I searched up the other videos playing the game, like I saw like the playtime was relatively short. So I already expected it was like, oh yeah, probably one part from Jean, probably the other part from Mycon, right? And yeah, honestly, this was a pretty good demo. The fact that I could like you probably set like it sets like the expectations of what the game's gonna be like, right? You had the choices, you had the overall setting, right? You had the European outsiders who came in and looted everything, and now there's an angry winter spirit, and then you have obviously Pierre, who's a I don't know what he is, a pelter. I mean, to the First Nations, it's probably like a poacher more. We have Jean. Yeah, we get to know both characters, right? So, and then we get to know a bit more. And yeah, again, they introduced us to the codex system, which I'm a huge fan of, because I'm always down to learn more, because that's great. So, and we also get a look at the choices system as well, despite the fact it's a linear story. So I'm actually not too sure how it's gonna work. I guess it might change like a few lines here and there, right? Because it did say that it's a linear story, but it'll affect how they interact with each other. So assume that the choices are gonna affect like just some general lines here and there. So yeah. Overall, yeah. Honestly, even if I wasn't a fan of this, I probably would have gotten it just out of to support like First Nation creators, because like, yeah, they don't deserve it. They don't wait. Why do I say they don't deserve? They don't receive enough recognition. There we go. That's the word. Sorry, my English is a mess right now. But still, like, this game, this demo has been really solid. So yeah, I'll happily chalk out my money as well. Like, yeah. And yeah, you guys should too, because yeah, I'm quite like again, how do I phrase this? Oh my god, I'm such a mess right now. Sorry, I'm really sorry. I actually redid the intro to this one, because I was like, yeah, that intro was not good. I was babbling. I was rambling. But so where was I? I don't remember. Anyways, I'm blanking out for some reason. But yes, I am invested in the story. I'm quite I do enjoy the First Nations and all their story as well, all their history as well. Mainly, again, like I think you can probably tell from the start that I do respect them quite a bit. I hope it came across as that. I hope it did, because right now I'm a mess right now. But yes, this is genuinely very, very interesting stuff. And yeah, I gladly play through it, because again, I don't really have a full understanding of all the history. I forgot about a lot of it. And even then, when I learned like First Nation, when I learned Quebecois history back in Histoire, right, back in history class, like they mainly gave us from the point of view of the Europeans. They didn't really give us the point of view from the First Nations. So obviously there's a lot of context, there's a lot of bias. So having this point of view from the First Nations' point of view as well is very important. I believe that a lot of people should also play this game, even if they're not interested in the story, which, I mean, I'm interested in the story, but even if they're not interested in the story, they should probably like play this game to get a historical background on how the First Nations were necessarily like treated, how the Europeans actually influenced Canada, right, in the negative connotation. Or positive, I guess it depends on how you frame it, but mainly negative from the First Nations' point of view, because I did remember that one of the things that they nearly killed off was the buffaloes, especially during the construction of the railways, right? Because the buffaloes were just blocking off the trains, and they were like, all right, we gotta kill them. So generally, I believe a lot of people are missing that historical context. I think that playing this game will help people get a better understanding of that era, which is missing from usually their minds. But obviously it takes like a very, very specific type of person, I think, to actually care about this. But Yeah. But I think that everyone should know this history, and it's genuinely important to know this history, right? Because there is erasure. There are efforts, right, to prevent this lineage from continuing, right? One of which is obviously Canadian, like the Canadian government. There's not. I'm gonna call it the Canadian government because I do think that they're full of crap for this. So one is that. Oh man, I'm trying to remember if it's like. So I might be wrong in this, but I think it's once I believe that if a First Nation actually decides to move out of their territory and study outside of their territory and work outside their territory, they sort of lose their status as they sort of lose their status as part of that territory. So what Canada actually does is that they actually have designated territories, spaces reserved for the First Nations, right? And this specific territory has kind of nothing. This specific, like they give the First Nations like a very specific territory, but don't really provide anything for them. Like I remember watching like a documentary on the First Nations and these territories that the government actually gave them, and there's no running water. Like the sanitation is garbage. It's just overall horrible. There's no like I believe electricity is also non-existent. Like again, like the government really likes to have this image of, oh look, we're so supportive of the First Nations, when in reality, like they don't give a damn about them. Like it's just for like PR, right? So I think like again, like it is important for people to play this game and just get an idea of how the First Nations were mistreated back then, and they're still mistreated today. And honestly, yeah, just the story itself is interesting, right? Just the mix of historical and fantastical with the inclusion of First Nation mythology, I think is really, really cool. So yeah, I'm really excited because again, First Nation mythology is not something that you usually see people touch on, right? It's usually just Greek, it's Egypt, it's Norse mythology, but here you have First Nation mythology, which is really cool. So there's a lot to love about this game, and yeah, you can play the demo for yourself if you don't want my rambling, if you don't want my historical random crap. But yeah, it's free on Steam, the demo is, and honestly, yeah, I'm gonna play the full game when it comes out, because yeah, that was Two Falls by Nishu Taka. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Takuachina. There we go. I'm really sorry if I butchered your name. I'm really sorry. But yeah, please play the game. Please play the demo. Please buy the game when it comes out. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when and where you are. And yeah, see you guys next time. Yeah, bye bye. See you. And take care. Thank you for the devs for making this game.